can tell, we are particularly excited about the Notre Dame at Ohio State game. Number 2 versus number 5. College game day is going to be on location, and you better believe I'll be tuned in that morning to watch game day. But this game is a fascinating one, obviously because of the college football playoff implications, but there's so many storylines going into it, right? Marcus Freeman playing against his alma mater, or coaching against his alma mater, rather. Tyler Buckner getting his first start in the saddle. This new Notre Dame staff trying to find their way about themselves in their first game. I think there's a couple of things we need to address here. And with the spread being what it is, it's gone all the way up to 17.5 in favor of Ohio State. Let's just take a look at it this way. If Notre Dame wins, how would they go about doing that? And I think, to put it simply, if you're Notre Dame, you got to throw the first punch. You have to connect on the first punch and draw first blood, whatever that looks like. Whether it's a turnover, whether it's a long drive, whether it's an explosive play, draw first blood. Because if you do, then you're able to sort of control the tempo and play with a lead. This offensive line for Notre Dame is nasty. Let them eat. Let Chris Tyree eat. Take some things off Tyler Buckner's plate. Allow him to be a playmaker and add in the run game if he is able to / needs to. Allow him to have a more clear picture throwing the football because that Ohio State defense is worried about the run game. Also, we are expecting more from Ohio State's defense and Jim Knowles with all of the implementation of his system that's gone in. But at the same time, we haven't seen it yet. Actually, the last few times we've seen Ohio State was them getting bludgeoned by Oregon and by Michigan. I guess last few times is probably not the right word to use, but our recent sample size for Ohio State is them getting run through by some really good football teams. Now, like I said, new scheme, new strategy. I would be shocked if they're not a lot better, but if you're Notre Dame, I would test that theory early. I would say, okay, you're improved, prove it. We're going to run right at you. And again, that is only possible if you're able to get that first shot on the jaw for Notre Dame. Because if you get that first shot on the jaw and you play with a lead, you can keep the freak show offense that Ohio State's going to have off the field, shorten the game, have some drive sustained, and again, make Tyler Buckner ultimately more comfortable. On top of all that, if Notre Dame is going to win this game, the defense needs to sort of take their shots. They need to find a way to be opportunistic. Because C.J. Stroud in this offense is going to be very, very potent, to say the least. I don't think you necessarily are going to have a shot to stop them completely, but if you can have a play where, hey, you dial up the right blitz and you force a fumble on C.J. Stroud, a little strip sack, and you steal a possession, you're going to need a play like that, maybe 2 plays like that. Again, on top of that, the offense shortening the game and keeping them off the field altogether would probably be plan A, but for the defense, I don't think, like I said, I don't think stopping them as a whole is realistic, but stealing some possessions, taking the wind out of their sails, forcing them out of their comfort zone just a little bit is going to be crucial for them to have a shot to win this football game. Now, moving on to this game from Ohio State's vantage point, if Notre Dame throws the first punch, it's a game. If Ohio State throws that first punch, it could be a knockout. That first punch may not just be the first touchdown, but if they get that first swing of momentum, I think this Ohio State team is experienced enough. And quite frankly, this Notre Dame team has some newness at positions that are crucial enough to where they could go into tailspin mode, right? Tyler Buckner, his first start on the road, like there could be a little bit of some disorientation going on that side of the ball. So for Ohio State, a couple big plays early. If you get that lead, I think you have a chance to choke them out early. I really do. And the Vegas line agrees with that, being 17.5. Now, in addition to this, one way you can sustain that punch, one way that you can sort of throw that knockout is the run game working for you. Is Travion Henderson back in full effect, averaging around 5 yards a carry? Because if you can soften up that front 7 early, or at least consistently, it's going to open up the rest of the offense. And if you keep this defense guessing, it could get very, very ugly. Now, on top of all of that, the defense is a key variable, right? Because we've had questions about them really since last season ended. They haven't looked sharp in about a calendar year. So can the defense hold up their end of the bargain and make this quarterback uncomfortable? Because you look at all of the external circumstances surrounding this game, it all favors the Ohio State defense. Home game, first-year starting quarterback, first-year head coach, a lot of things trending towards Ohio State's defense's way. Can you capitalize? It's teed up just right. Can you capitalize? So ultimately, when it comes down to the prediction we have for this game, I think Notre Dame could make it interesting early. Think you find a way to feed Michael Mayer, and you're able to get this thing headed the right direction and maybe steal a possession or two. I think you got to get creative if Notre Dame. But ultimately, when all the dust settles and Ohio State does ultimately catch their rhythm, or if they are able to swing back and get a lead, I think once Ohio State gets up, whether it's 10 points or 14 points, I think those are kind of the magic numbers you got to look at. That's when I think you kind of start to see Ohio State just step into their own, get back on the bike and start riding it and say, oh, yeah, this is who we are. Ultimately, I think Ohio State wins. I think they cover the spread. My final score prediction is Ohio State 45, Notre Dame 27. Defense looks improved, still a work in progress, but you see some positive things from the Silver Bullets on that side of the ball as well. And Ohio State wins that game, wins it handily to start the year off on the right note in Columbus. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.